Hello and welcome back to another Toronto video. In today's one, we're going over the TMNT, the UK magazine from Panini, and this will be issue number 2. And this one is called What Goes Up, and this one's dealing with the turtles having to go up a building to try and face off Snakeweed, and then only for him to get electrocuted. And that's basically like the general gist of this whole story. And with this whole issue itself, unlike the last one for the first issue, this one only got one issue, or one story, and this was about 10 pages I want to say, which is decent enough I want to say, but you know, it could be better, it could be longer and all that kind of stuff. And I just, like, there's so many bits in here which I do find to be quite interesting with this issue, compared to like, the last one, where the last one felt like it had a bit of problems with the writing for some of the characters, and felt a bit our character, like especially with like Mikey and that kind of stuff, and like there was like some interesting ideas, but like I already mentioned in that video, I did say that like some of the stuff was held back because of how like they wanted to run the show and that kind of stuff, where it couldn't progress the story whatsoever. Now this one, it's yeah, I don't want to say that like the problems with this one are a little bit more weird, I want to say, because most of the characters do feel in line with what they were like supposed to be from the show. I do feel like this was also still in like the early development of this show as well, and you can definitely tell like some bits were for a little bit off character, but not like drastically like the last issue whatsoever. And I do find it also interesting of how they do reference like some stuff from the actual show itself, with like, because they do go on to mention like how Snakeweed was defeated last time, and they do use that as a plot point for this issue. And I do find that to be quite interesting. When like the first time I got to see Snakeweed in the IW comics, he was never mentioned about like the first time of defeat or anything like that. And I also do find it like quite fascinating that both IDW and Panini also used Snakeweed as the main villain for the second issue, and also had like very similar sort of storylines where Snakeweed wants to come back, he wants to take over New York as like an actual city, not just, oh, he's there and now he gets defeated by the turtles. So I do like that aspect, but I do find it to be quite interesting with how like both companies, like doing two completely different things with the same version of the turtles, still end up doing this, like similar sort of things, which I do find to be quite interesting. And I do wonder if there was like any sort of arguments or anything like that, like, oh well, we've already got one story about it, we don't need like another one. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, so with the actual issue itself, we just get to see the turtles. They're trying to do a training exercise by running up the building, and this did remind me a lot of the like 2007 movie where, you know, like where like like running up the scaffolding and that kind of stuff. Reminded me a bit of that, and also a bit like the 2007 game as well, where I had just like run across buildings, rooftops, and all that kind of stuff. You name it, was there. But yeah, and we do get to see Snakeweed. He's there, and he gets a bit of a power up by getting some fertilizer on him, and then with the rain, it will combine him into being this super strong version of him. However, I do feel like with this issue, he doesn't really properly show this off all too well, and because it just feels like it's just the same version of Snakeweed, but they're just saying, oh, he's super, he's amazing, he's stronger. But yeah, we don't probably get to see that, but I understand that with the time limits of this issue, with it only being 10 pages, you can't exactly do all too much, but I feel like with what they did, it was just enough, but it wasn't enough to really convince me to be like, yeah, this version is a lot stronger, this one's a lot better, when it felt like it was just doing the exact same sort of thing. So, I mean, at least there was some effort there, I want to say, but, you know, at the same time, do better. And we do get to see Donnie's bright idea, and that's basically just give the Snakeweed like their weapons, just so they can get electrocuted. And this does actually surprisingly work, and actually gets disintegrated. However, just like with the RW issue, where they do kill him off, but we do get to see at the end of the issue, it's like, oh my god, he's coming back to life because he's a plant and that kind of stuff. And like with this, I just say, for like, at the time reading this as a kid, I was like really excited and happy about this, because like, oh my god, I just saw it in the show, now he's here in the comics and just did this big battle with the turtles, and now he's gonna come back again. But yet, from what I can remember, he doesn't actually return in like the IW comics or in the Panini magazines whatsoever. And I think for like after this was like his next appearance was, it depends when this issue came out. I think it was either like the New Girl in Town episode, or it was the Metalhead Rewired episode. either way, he was barely in those episodes, so it felt like this is like a big setup to his character returning for absolutely nothing. And considering that, like, we know that, like with Snakeweed, you can destroy him and do whatever you want with him, he's still going to come back to life. And yet the Turtles don't like figure that out or do anything about it, despite all this. So, you know, a part of it is on their end, like, you know, for being so stupid that they would, you know, constantly let the Snakeweed just regrow and that kind of stuff. But at the time, it was one of those big things that put a big smile on my face, and it's like, oh my god, I need to read the next issue. I need to keep buying these because, you know, Snakeweed might return. Unfortunately, it doesn't, but just at the time, it just got me a bit excited because of what could have been. I just wish that I, you know, had some expectations and just actually lowered them quite a bit, because I feel like I would have been a lot more happier. But yeah, so I'll just say that with this story overall, I feel like with what they did in this issue, it was decent enough, I want to say, and I feel like with what they had with just being a 10-page story with Turtles fighting Snakeweed, it was simple enough for it to work within like this like limitations, I want to say. And I do feel like there's a lot of areas which they could have improved upon, but at the same time, it did its job and did it well. And I do feel like from this issue compared to the first issue, a lot of stuff has changed for the better with the writing, with how especially like how Turtles are talking, especially like Mikey. He just feels like he's, you know, how it was in issue 1, but it doesn't feel as bad. And even with like some other characters, just some bits just felt a little bit off with like Raph and Don, I want to say, but it wasn't necessarily anything bad. But I thought it is mainly just down to the fact that at the time the show was coming out and they didn't have like too much to go off of. But I feel like at the same time, they're working for, you know, Paramount and all that kind of stuff. You'd have the resources available just so that you can do like a better job. But yeah, well, here we are. But yeah, I mean, also I had to say that also with this issue, just like with the first one, I feel like I'm also being a bit biased here, where I'm not criticising it enough or being too harsh in it compared to like every other issue which I review, because of, you know, I grew up on this one, it's nostalgia and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, at least I can remember. I mean, oh no, oh god, what I'm trying to say, not remember. Of course, I can remember it. But at least I can at least know some of the bad stuff. I just wish I could be a bit more harsher towards it, other than just being like, yeah, it's bad. However, I mean, so yeah, this issue has an unfair advantage compared to like other issues as well. So I'll have to give him a few points there just because of that. So, but at the same time, it shouldn't be rewarded for his mistakes. So, well, it is what it is. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this issue. Do you like it? Do you not? And yeah, that's game for today, guys. It's please share, subscribe, and that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.